Early intervention programs can totally change the trajectory of a baby's life. When an infant is slow to develop certain milestones, an expert can help the parents put that baby on track to thrive. It's a huge, important job. We meet one of those experts in the North Country on today's Story of the Day.
Support for Story of the Day comes from Pearsall Wealth Management at UBS Wealth Management USA, subsidiary UBS AG, member FINRA SIPC, 1 Broad Street, Glens Falls.
Hey, I'm David Sommerstein. It's Thursday, April 9th. First up, Governor Kathy Hochul and state lawmakers are still at odds over taxing the rich as Albany's budget stalemate drags on. But as the New York Public News Network's John Campbell reports, Democrats in the state Senate also want to tax something else: gold bars.
Brooklyn Senator Andrew Gennardis is in the press room at the state capitol. He's carrying a burlap sack with a dollar sign on it, the type you'd see in a bank robbery in an old movie or a cartoon.
John, you're gonna need a gold bar.
What do you got here?
I got some gold for you. Tax-free.
Hold on.
Tax-free gold.
Walk me through this. What am I looking at? He pulls out a shiny cardboard box that looks like a gold bar.
What's inside there? What's inside is some chocolate. Chocolate that we had to pay taxes on to buy.
He's right. Candy is taxed in New York, but gold bars aren't. And the senator wants to change that. What's known as precious metal bullion isn't subject to sales tax. We're not talking about jewelry. That's taxable. But there's no sales tax on bars and certain coins made of gold and silver and platinum and a handful of other metals. Investors and collectors buy them at market rate and then hope they gain value. And in recent years, they have. An ounce of gold is about $4,700 today. That's more than double the price of 2 years ago.
We're doing this because New York State, every single year since 1989, gives a tax break to people who buy more than $1,000 of gold bullion. It just blew my mind that in this day and age, people who buy gold get a tax break.
New York is far from alone. It's one of more than 40 states that don't charge sales tax on bullion purchases. State Senate Democrats want to get rid of the tax exemption in this year's state budget. It cost New York an estimated $600 million last fiscal year. That's according to the tax department. And senators say the state could use the cash. But gold dealers across the state are pushing back. They say there's a good reason for that tax break.
My name is Jeffrey DeMiss. I'm one of the owners of Ferris Coin and Jewelry at 199 Wolf Road, Albany, New York.
I visited DeMiss in his shop in a strip mall a few miles from the Capitol. It's been around in some form since 1930.
Right, what are we looking at here?
So, two of our most popular products, 1 ounce gold bar, 1 ounce gold eagle.
I asked him about some silver bars locked in a glass case.
Here, what would something like that cost?
Approximately, let's see. So if you purchased 14 ounces of silver, of bullion, that would get you to $1,010.80, and that is considered a non-taxable sale in the state of New York.
He says people buy bullion as an investment, often as a hedge against the market. And they do pay a capital gains tax on it when they sell, much like they would on a stock. DeMiss says a sales tax would throw the whole market out of whack.
The real issue is if people have to pay 8% sales tax. That's far more than we would make. And the result is our customers, they'll just go to neighboring states. They just won't make any bullion purchases in New York.
The Senate repealed the tax break in its state budget proposal last month, and Assembly Speaker Carl Heastie signaled he may be open to it as well. But they'd need Governor Hochul on board, too. And her team has major concerns.
There's two big markets in the entire world.
That's Blake Washington, the governor's budget director. He's talking about gold markets.
One happens to be in the state of New York. In the city of New York, one happens to be in London. And they play off of each other.
London's gold market is heavy on physical bars and other forms of bullion. The New York market is more focused on futures, which aren't taxed. But gold can move back and forth between the two. Banks and institutional investors started moving gold from London to New York last year when President Trump took office threatening tariffs. Washington says that gives him pause about messing with the sales tax break.
Any person that's in my position should be very wary of tinkering with a program where you're in a global competition, where the asset is highly movable.
Gennardis is undeterred. The state senator from Brooklyn says he's just trying to generate some revenue for the state.
And at a time when SNAP benefits are being cut, we can't figure out how to give people health insurance. We're going to spend more than $500 million to subsidize people who are buying these things at over $1,000 a pop. It just doesn't add up.
The state budget was due at the start of April, but the governor and lawmakers missed that deadline. They're still negotiating, hoping to strike a deal. Last year's budget wasn't finalized until early May. In Albany, I'm John Campbell for the New York Public News Network.
Each state in the U.S. has some kind of early intervention program, a public service that connects families with resources when babies or toddlers are struggling with their development. Making early intervention happen is an important job and a rewarding one. That's today's North Country at Work story. Anna Williams-Bergen has more.
If your toddler isn't meeting their developmental milestones, who do you call? Your local early intervention office. Autumn Headwell works for Washington County Public Health, and it's her job to get things kick-started.
Some kids only need the program for, say, 6 months, and there are some kids that are going to need services for their entire life.
She says that about half the kids she works with struggle with speech delays, and others have different, more complex challenges. Early intervention works kind of like the toddler version of the individualized education plans that students might receive later on in school. Headwell schedules evaluations, puts together care plans, and checks in with families to make sure that things stay on track.
Some of the kids I've known for almost a year now, and to see not only how much they developmentally grow, but physically grow. I've known kids that they qualified when they were only a few months old, and now they're over a year old, and they're completely different children. They look completely different. They act completely different.
Headwell is originally from Cambridge, about an hour southeast of Glens Falls, and she wanted to stay in the area. But like many people who grew up here, Headwell figured she'd need to leave to find work in her field.
There's a lot of work in public health in a lot of different places, but it tends to be in cities more often. So I was thinking probably going to have to move to Albany, probably maybe to another state.
Then, as Headwell was just about to finish college, she stumbled across the public health department's table at her county fair. They introduced her to New York's Public Health Corps Fellowship, a program that trains public health professionals in the places they're from.
So I was able to work in Washington County, where I've lived my entire life, and get to help people there, and just kind of grew from there.
Now, at 25, she drives far and wide to meet with families, but it's the North Country. It's still a small world.
My sister was actually 6 years older than me, so there's a lot of people that she went to high school with that are now at the age where they're having kids. So there's been a few times that people have been like, "Are you this person's sister?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am."
There are lots of fun moments. Headwell's working with kids. But a lot of this work can be emotional, dealing with babies in tough life circumstances. It's a heavy weight for coordinators like Headwell to carry.
It was tough at first. I had a really tough first case, a really tough home situation, and it took me a few weeks to come to terms with that. Over time, I don't want to say you become desensitized to it, but you kind of do. It definitely becomes easier with time.
This winter, Headwell graduated with her master's in public health.
So I've had actually a few people ask me like, "Oh, what are you actually going to do with that?" I don't really have no idea. For right now, I'm happy where I'm at. I think this is a job that over time, it can kind of burn you out sometimes, just because it's a lot of caring all of the time. So for right now, this is good, but maybe in 10 years from now, I decide I can't do this anymore.
Headwell says there's a real payoff to that caring all the time. You get to witness the positive change that you helped make happen.
Seeing a kid that at an evaluation was really struggling, then seeing them maybe 6 months or 12 months later and being able to discharge them from the program, that is really rewarding. It's really nice to see.
Not everyone gets discharged. Headwell says sometimes it's a kid who still needs help, but can finally walk after months of intensive physical therapy. It's those early victories that stick with her. For North Country Public Radio's North Country at Work project, I'm Anna Williams-Bergen in Glens Falls.
This story was recorded at a public collection event in Glens Falls. It's part of North Country at Work's Next Generation project, which highlights stories from the region's young workers. If you have a story in mind, we want to hear it. Text the word NEXT to 315-978-6277. Music today by Lost in Beijing of Keene and Mark Corey of Watertown. I'm David Summerstein, North Country Public Radio.